All right, here we go. Today, I will be adding firing to my game. Real quick though, I just want to get you caught up on things I have done since the last video where I switched from TCP to UDP. Most of it was animation work. I just added in a ton of animations. So I got the moving animations working right and the jumping and all of that stuff. You're probably not going to really see the difference because most of it's third person, but I got it taken care of. I also made it so that whenever you jump off a ledge, or whenever you rather fall off a ledge, you reset your gravity. Before, if you were to fall off a ledge, you would fall very quickly because it has the accumulated gravity from before. Now your gravity resets when you're on a ledge, so it feels more normal. Other than that, I just kind of made some internal changes, and yeah, that's about it. So let's get started on setting up firing our weapon. I'm going to hit play real quick and show you what we have. So I have this M4A1 here, and I have a pistol, and they both use a weapon script on my character. See here, they're configured with fire rates, damage, and so on, and clip size. I don't think I'm going to have time to get to the clip size today, but I'm going to try and knock out everything else. Well, probably not the damage yet because I don't have any targets to actually shoot against. So at the very least, I want to server off the firing, maybe add some special effects, and make sure that it's actually working. So let's make a new script for that because I don't think, well, I have the weapon handler. Perhaps I could use that script. Right now, this does not do a whole lot. This will just load a reference of the weapons, and it checks to switch the weapons. I probably need to initialize each weapon, however, with this particular script. That way they can call this script because the weapons are children objects, and if I need to call commands, I need to be on the object with the network identity, which this one is. So let me check my weapon script real quick. They do not have a reference to the weapon handler, and you can tell that I need to clean these up a bit. Not really a whole lot of organization going on right now. Need to do an initialize. I like to call it, I have two different initialize types. I have first initialize and I have regular initialize. And how I like to do it is my first initialize method is for things like you would do an awake that should only call once. And my initialize methods are things that might need to be called multiple times, like if you pull an object, for example. And I need to pass in the weapon handler. Right now, the weapon handler doesn't do much, but it will be used, as I just said, to handle firing a weapon and whatnot. Okay. I'm not sure if I actually need to do that now that I think about it, but I'll keep it there. So I'm going to wrap all this stuff up real quick in a region because it's not commented and it's a little messy. I just want to get it out of the way. I actually want these two to be up above here. There we go. What this code does is it just selects the first weapon that is available. That will be changed later to select the more powerful weapon. Okay, check fire. So I'm going to call check fire and update, and this will check for input. Hit key down. I believe we're going to go ahead and mouse 0. That is, after all, the standard fire key. So if it is not pressed, exit method. Now I need a couple fields up here. So I'm going to do private float. Let's say last fired time is going to be 0f. Last time a weapon was fired. This is reset when a weapon switch occurs. Now I need to go down to my weapon switching code real quick. And I'm going to add a quick check in here. If, I could have sworn I don't actually seem to track which weapon is currently due using the weapon index. Okay, so if weapon index is greater or equal than 0 and weapon index is less than weapons.length, basically I'm making sure it's not out of the array length of the weapons. The weapons are what I showed you previously on the player, where it has like the Glock and the M4 and so on. Right now I'm just setting up to determine which gun to actually fire. And basically if I'm within the array, I'm going to see if weapons current weapon index dot weapon name equals weapon name, then exit method. If weapon index is valid, check if weapon is already active. We'll say equipped. Weapon is equipped. No need to switch to it. Okay, the reason I'm doing this is so if you only have one weapon and you try to cycle it, I don't want to reset the fire time as it cycles to that one weapon, because as I just said, I'm going to reset the fire time when you cycle a weapon. I'm going to change this. I think I need to actually do next fired time, set to 0f. A lot of this is going to be kind of boring until I actually get to the server stuff. I need to actually make sure here too that I'm going to add a method here, private bool weapon index valid returns if the current weapon index is valid. And I'm just going to take this code right here. And that way I can just use it right here. And also I can use it under my check fire because I don't want to check fire if my weapon index is not valid. Oh, and how could I think I already have this. Yeah, I already have this under an authority check, so keep that in mind. You would definitely want one of those so you don't fire in other people's games. Although it wouldn't really happen unless you were both on the same computer, but still, got to do things right. All right, next, let's just skip the input check until we check the time first. Let's say if time is greater or equal than next fire time. I should say fire time. In return, I should actually do it if it's less than. So if the current time is less than the next allowed fire time, exit method. Okay, now I need to actually fire a weapon equals weapons weapon index. So this is going to get the current weapon I have equipped. And I'm going to do, first I'm going to reset the fire time probably. So I'll do next fire time plus equals weapon dot fire. Oops. That might not be public. I may need to make that public. Yeah, okay. So public float fire rate, get return underscore fire rate. And I don't think I'm using this anywhere, but just in case, I'm going to do a quick rename. What that will do is if I was previously using the underscore fire rate somewhere in my code, I replaced it with the capital version because I like to use the accessor. That way I don't have to check to make sure I'm using either or, and I'll only use this one, and it makes it a lot easier to debug code later when something goes wrong as well. As I was saying, fire rate, and I'm actually going to not add on to the next fire time because that is wrong. I have to add on to the current time and add on the fire rate. There we go. Set next fire rate. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and close up this region here. And I guess I'll do firing locally first, get that set up. Let's do private void fire. I'm going to pass in the weapon. I probably didn't need to store this reference, so I'm going to rid of this. And the reason I'm breaking this into a new method is because the server is also going to call this method, but it doesn't necessarily need stuff here. So let's see. This. I should probably actually just put that under fire too. Yeah, I'm going to just put that all under fire. All right, I probably need another check here. Private, let's say, pool, let's call it, trying to think of what to name this, fire time met. This is going to reply back and say if the fire time has been met, so if enough time has elapsed to fire. Doesn't look right. Well, I say the word passed because I don't know how to spell that correctly. The other one has passed since last fire. How do I want to do this? I'm going to assume, I suppose, I don't know if I want to do this over and over and over again to check if the index is valid. Let's just do if not fire time met return. This is going to assume that the index is valid, so I'm going to put that in the comments. Okay, there's two ways I want to go about this. If I am the client, I'm going to do if base.isClient. I'm going to use the actual amount of time required, so this is going to be very precise. However, I'm going to do else, and if the server, I'm going to allow a very, very tiny amount of leniency. This is so if a packet just takes a little bit longer than the other packet and then another one catches up really fast, then it won't like stack right on top of each other and potentially not fire one of the things. So with that said, I might rework that later because that seems a little hacky to me, but for now, this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do float allowance, and this is going to be a portion of the fire time or the fire rate equals what? Okay, weapon index dot fire rate times, I don't know if I want to do a multiplication or just remove a flat rate. I think I'm going to I'm going to do either whichever one is smaller. So I'm going to do either, let's say 15% of the fire rate, or let's say 16 milliseconds. Okay, so again, what's going on here basically is if I'm the client, it strictly will not fire unless that next fire time has been passed. If I'm the server, it's going to let the player fire once if this passes on client and they send in the command, it's going to let the client fire if they are within 16 milliseconds or 15% of the fire rate. That way to compensate a little bit for lag. I'll probably change that later, but for now, this is what I'm going to do. I'll probably change it to use probably network time or something later on. All right, so fire time met, weapon index valid, fire check again. I'm going to say fires a current weapon. This method assumes the current weapon index is valid. Hey, Gregors, sorry if I'm not saying that right. The mirror playlist is now for supporters only. Just so you know, if you want to find out more info, you can watch the introduction to SQL. You can join for as cheap as $1. So, and that gets you everything too. That gets you all the source codes as well, all the videos, past content, future content, literally everything for like $1. Okay, so now I need to actually shoot the weapon. I don't have any effects. So maybe I should make some effects, or at least, something really, really simple. Let's make a quick particle. Wow, fancy. Not quite what I want though. I want the duration to be really quick, and I don't want it to loop. The lifetime is going to be the same as the duration. I'm going to probably just do a quick size over lifetime, but first I'm going to do this as a burst emission. So I'm going to 0 rate over time, and I'm going to set up a burst. I'm going to do say a constant 5. It doesn't really matter. The shape is not going to be a cone. It's going to be here, and let's make it super, super, super small. Okay, let me restart. All right. Kind of a crappy muzzle flash. I'm going to get rid of the renderer, and I'm probably going to add a trail. I want it to be ribbon. Need a trail material though. I'm going to use the same default particle system just because this is testing and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. So trails turned on. If I do this, it doesn't like that. It might be something to do with the material. It doesn't like that either. That's weird. It shouldn't matter as far as I know. I'm not sure why that's pink. I've never had that happen in the past. Might just keep it as something different. I'm not using HDRP. So it likes that fine. Maybe it's the okay, that's what's going on. All right. So going to be tile. Particles, I have a feeling it's just yeah, so basically what's happening is I don't like any of this. So I'm going to wrap it up super fast. Speed's going to be like 20. I hate designing particles, by the way. I just don't like them at all. I'm going to turn off the trail. I turned off that, so I need to change it back to billboard. Just to probably 10. Change the lifetime to 0.1, 0.1. All right, so we have a muzzle flash. Obviously, this is terrible. I don't need you to tell me this is terrible. I know it's terrible. So we're going to slap that on the gun. So let's go to weapon. And somewhere in this mess, I also need to pull these at some point, but they're not going to be pulled right now. You probably have to have some kind of server to host your mirror server if you want other people to be able to connect. So yeah, you're going to have to use some kind of option for that. Kind of embarrassed of this particle system. It's really bad. All right, muzzle flash set up. I actually need to make a script for this real quick. I'm gonna just quick muzzle flash script. And all this is gonna do is just destroy it. And it's going to destroy it after we'll say half a second. There's plenty of time. And that way when we spawn it, we don't just have a bunch of them floating around. Okay. That, and I think what I will do is also add a fire method on the weapon itself. And the reason for that is because there might be certain things that each weapon needs to do that doesn't really fit in with the weapon handler. So like the weapon handler will check the timings and fire your weapon and all of that, but I need a fire method on the weapon as well that might handle some kind of visual change or something. That's where the muzzle flash comes in. I don't need a reference either, so I'm just going to spawn it and call it good. And I need to set up the barrel of the weapon. What do I want to call it? Exit point. Exit point for now. On this weapon where projectiles spawn. Okay, so instantiate muzzle flash. I'm going to do it at no parent, but I'm going to do it at exit point dot position with quaternion dot identity. So standard rotation using the position of the exit point. Go ahead and do that real quick for our weapon, which is on our player. Okay, so here's something I already don't like. This holds the stats to the weapon, like the fire rate, the damage, and the models, like clip size and all that. And it has a muzzle flash, but I almost kind of want to put the muzzle flash on the weapon itself. I don't know. I'm being indecisive. I will figure it out later. Better of a exit point. You'll see the third person weapon. Might be the first person one. Alright, so I'm just going to align this as close as I can without trying too much to the barrel of this weapon. Alright, that looks okay for now. I need to put one on the M4A1 as well. Click around about it just to see if it lines up. It does not. Okay, that's probably pretty good for now. So now I'm going to apply changes to not gonna let me apply changes, is it? Because it's part of a different prefab. That's fine. I could just do. Let's make go over here and just type in Glock. This one. Add the exit point transform. If I actually did this to the prefab, then I wouldn't be having this issue right now. But I didn't. All right, though, this isn't really that much more work. Copy. All right, here we go. So it's set up for the first person and third person. However, this is another thing. I can't have one exit point without having it specific to each thing. So as I just said before, I need to make another script so I can place all of these on the weapon themselves. Also with that, I think I'm just going to modify the prefab. I thought I had it as a prefab, but I don't. So let's make it a prefab real quick. You wouldn't think something this simple would require so much work. It still looks okay. Now we need to make a quick script. Call it weapon model. A lot of people don't realize that there is a ton of work in the game dev. Okay, so serialized field, private, transform, exit point just like before. I'm gonna make this public too, so I can access it. Right? So under weapon, instead of doing the game object for the weapons, I'm going to actually weapon model script. And they need this namespace for the sake of organization. The muzzle flash. Right. I have a feeling I'm not going to get this all done today, but I will do my best to try. So let's get rid of, I want to use the same muzzle flash. Yeah, I'll keep that separate. Don't want this. So what I need to do is change this to that as well, and that's going to lose my references, but that's okay. Because I changed the type, so it's going to mess everything up. Okay, so transform exit point. I need to get an exit point depending on if I am owner or not. So basically if I'm first person or not. So fire a bool, we'll say owner. If it's a server only, I can't, I don't really need to show special effects on the server because that will cost extra cycles, even though it won't necessarily be showing it. So maybe I'll just skip this if I'm the server only and not call it. Still feel like I don't like that though, because there still might be things I want to run on it. So we'll do that. For now, I'm going to say if server only, then exit method, because right now, if it's a server only, I don't need to do extra things. Otherwise, let's do exit point equals if owner, then we're going to get the exit point from the first person one. Otherwise, we're going to get the exit point from the third person model. I'm going to drop that in there. All right, so now we have our muzzle flash set up for that. I need to go back to this, the weapon handler, and I need to also call fire on the current weapon. weapon index. There we go. So here's where the owner and server only part comes in. So I'm going to, this is should be a networked, yeah, network behavior. So I'm going to do base dot has authority. So if the owner, and base dot is server only. Go. Now I probably need to set these up. I also need to make a prefab out of the other weapon. That is. That in there. Copy this. Save. I need to add the weapon model script to it, the one I just made. And drop that exit point into it. So now we can reference the model and get the exit point on it. And that way I won't have to constantly reconfigure my scripts if for some reason I this. All right, let's go back to the player prefab. Already set up, good. So is that one. Then I'm going to copy this component. I'm going to go to the third person. I will delete this one, drop in the M4A1 prefab, and paste. Looks like it actually kept the values already because that's what they were saved as under the prefab. So that's nice. Saves me a little work. All right, now I get to go back to the weapons, and we are almost done. So M4A1. I know by experience in this project that the top one's always first person, the bottom one's always third, so I'm just going to drop it in without looking. Now I need to Glock. Same thing, search Glock, third person, first person, and just because I don't like making stupid mistakes, I'm going to double check. I'm going to hit first person. It is indeed first person, and same third. Okay, great. You know I do make stupid mistakes like all the time. I'd like to avoid them when possible. Now, did I miss anything? That's right. That should be right. That's right. Firing, we'll set the next fire time, and then we'll call fire, which right now will only spawn the particles. Let's see if it works. Click host server because it doesn't matter. Oh, it works! It works! I can't switch weapons though. Oh no, I broke something else. It's like both my weapons are shown at once. So I got that working, but I broke something else. Oh, first I'm going to just slightly change the muzzle flash because it's really big. Start size, 0.1. Better. Now let's bump up the emission to like 15. And let's change the start color to red. Testing it. I gotta save. Okay, that looks just as bad. Change the speed to 3. Still bad, but a little better. I'm actually going to just do a white color here real quick, and I'm going to do a color over time. I'm going to make it over here. Oh, where'd my color over time window go? There we go. I'm going to just do kind of like a orange, I guess. And fade it out to white's okay. I'm okay with white. And let's do a quick test. Okay, that's a little less awful. I can live with that for now. I do need to fix both my weapons being shown, though. That's obviously a problem. I'm going to first make a backup on my Git because we have done a bit of work. So let's see. I can't drag my Git over because I have other stuff on there that I can't show you right now. So I'm just going to do it on my other screen here. Backup. A lot of work towards firing weapons. That is super descriptive and probably not as helpful at all to anyone other than myself. But that's okay. Now let's find out why I broke, or rather how I broke the weapon switching. So I have a feeling that's probably in the thing I added. I added right here. Oh. Find out. Yep. Yarp. Okay, so that's exactly what's going on. Clearly isn't working. So it up for now. I'll deal with it later. To fix this broken mess. Okay. All right, good. Whoops, I accidentally hit the. Good, it's working. Oh, I broke it again. On. Literally working a moment ago, and I did something, messed it all up. Not hiding the other weapon. Why? Go look at my prefab again, make sure I have everything set up. First person, third person. Fuck, first person, third person. So all right, so let's see. I call equip weapon. Goes through all of them. If the weapon is not the one I'm trying to equip, I should hide it. Yeah, that should be working. I hope to have 1P or 2Ps. I know I typed it in with 2 earlier. Let's see. What could be going on? I have no idea what I changed that broke it. I selected the M4 twice. Okay. So it's something with disconnecting, which is kind of weird. So bizarre. Okay, let me see what's going on. Third person's disabled, so I shouldn't have an issue with that. Go to the camera. Oh. 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 I see what's going on now. So I'm not removing my first person arms from the camera when I disconnect. So I'll have to take care of that. Added to do for that as well. Class, I think it's called body. That's called. Let me find out. Scripts. Player. One of these. Okay, I think I know what I need to do, and it's probably under the camera. All right, so I guess I already stored a looking, so I'm gonna do if. I need to store the first person arms that are moved. I already do that. No, I don't do that, do I? Let me just do private game object, first person arms. Arms of the player which are attached to the camera. The arms from the spawned player which are attached to the camera. There we go. If first person arms do not equal null, then we'll call destroy on those. That should fix that. I just need to assign the arms. Okay. Do a quick test. Works great, perfect. Hit stop, hit host. Okay, still working, great. All right. So now I guess we set up the Raycast. You know, I think I might have some audio. Nope, I'm getting carried away. I'm just going to do the Raycast right now. All right, so the Raycast, I need to make sure that it can't hit my own player and from the camera. So we're actually going to be shooting out of the player's head, but that's pretty typical in games like this. So first thing I want to do is just do a debug draw. Go to my weapon handler, and I will do under fire, wherever I put that. I just realized I need to get like the camera in order to know where to fire from, right? That's something else I have to do now. All right, so let's do weapon handler, and we will do, call it WH equals object.getComponent weapon handler, and I'm going to do a private, let's say transform, and we'll call it camera do a public void set camera, and then we're going to actually pass in the camera. I know this is a transform, but I'm passing in the camera so I don't make a mistake. Okay, so now I need to do wh.setCamera this. You know, that's going to require me to actually get the camera component, which I'm not doing here. You know, I'm just going to pass in a transform. Set camera transform. Proper naming matters. All right. See what we got. And I'm going to do a debug dot draw line, and I'm going to draw it from the camera, which should not be null like ever, unless the player is potentially dead, but even then it shouldn't be. So for now we're just going to assume that it's there, and I'm going to draw it to from camera transform dot position plus camera transform dot forward, and I'm just going to draw it out 100 units. I'm going to color it green. Do it for 100 milliseconds. All right. So now I should see a line come out of my camera. Save. Okay. Hitting play. Posting. There's my arms. Oh, look at that. Yes. Yes. Okay. We have a line. So fancy. Can't really tell if it's aiming at the right spot. It's kind of hard to tell. Let me just kind of go up to this window here. Go like this. It is. Okay, so it was really hard to tell from that perspective, but it is working. I like how the particles like do this. I'd have to set them to the actual weapon and use local space so that doesn't happen. But all right, yeah, I guess now I need to send it over the network. I don't actually have any damaging set up yet, so I can't check against a layer, and I need to make like a layer manager for that anyway. So for now, I'm going to just pass it over the network and make sure the server does the same thing. Let's go back to my weapon handler, and I'm going to do private end fire, and it's going to take the same exact thing because it should be in the same setup as the server. And this I am going to check if the weapon index is valid, because the player might be trying to fire without a valid weapon. So that I will definitely do. I'm going to do this too. Copy this stuff. And I'm just going to call regular fire. Get rid of this. Void. And right. I don't want to call the command inside fire, because if I do, bad things will happen. Create a loop. Let's call fire here, and then and fire as well. That's good. Let me build this, and if it's working, oh, you know, I actually have to pass in a position too, because the server body might Oh, that's actually an issue, isn't it? Because the server camera won't be on the body. So this is not good. This is very wrong. Let me redo this. Fires a current weapon using the camera. Private void fire, vector 3 position, vector 3 forward. I almost made a crucial mistake. Fires the current weapon from a position and using a forward. All right, so let's do this real quick and just copy that, paste it here, paste it there again. And what I need to actually do is call fire, and I'm going to use camera transform that position, and I'm going to use camera transform that forward. So this one is actually just going to pass in the camera on client to this, and then this is going to use the position and the forward that I just passed in. That debug in there. Okay. Now what I will do is, again, I'm going to call command fire, pass in the same thing as before. Doesn't like that because I don't have it set up for that yet. So we'll do vector 3 position, vector 3 forward, and then we're just going to do position and forward. I probably want to make sure that the position is not too far from where the player currently is. I'll actually do that now. If, say, vector 3, actually let's do float, max distance equals, do I really want to drop packets if the player is not like in sync with the server enough? Actually, how would I know? Because the camera is going to be in a different spot. So the camera is gonna be the same X and Z, but it might be a different Y. So I need to actually do something different. So I need to do float max distance equals, say, 3F, and we'll do float distance equals vector 3 dot distance, and we're going to compare position and this transform. Actually, I need to make this a new vector 3. Transform dot x, position dot y. So we're basically going to pretend that this base of this transform is where the camera is. And we're only going to compare the x and the y, or the z, sorry. And if a player is more than 3 units out of sync with the server, well, don't care. That's really weird, and they're probably lagging like crazy, and we're just going to not do it. So we're going to do if distance is greater or equal to max distance, and just don't fire. Just exit the method. Yeah. We will do. All right, let's see if I messed up again. Or, well, I guess if you catch your mistake before you mess up, does it actually count as messing up? I'm going to say no, because it'll make me feel better. I started a build. I think I started a build. There we go. I'm actually going to run the editor as a server. That way I should be able to see the debug line go in the same spot. I won't actually see it on the client here, but if I aim at that corner of the house, I should be able to see it. Yep, looking good. Now if I aim up there, oh, I hit the wrong button. Lock my mouse. Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna just do a real quick test here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it right here, and I'm going to fire at this corner right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on clumsy here, and I'm going to make my ping ridiculously high. I don't know if I'm going to be desynced from the server enough to where it won't accept the shot, because you'd have to be lagging pretty hard for that. But at the very least, this will give me a test if it works while moving. So I'm going to try and do my best to fire when I cross that corner. Yeah, so maybe I should go back to the window. That corner seems to be surprisingly difficult to hit. All right, let's see. I'm going to do a test like a dry run. It's hitting the window. Can't actually see what I'm shooting at, but that looks good. All right, so now if I just strafe over it and fire and keep strafing, it seems to be the same every time, so that's good. I don't know if it's actually going in the right direction because of how far I am from it. It looks like it is. It certainly looks like it is. I'll have to add some impact decals to test it out and make sure, but I do believe it is actually hitting the mark. Also, you can see, if you look on the server here, let me go back to the server, I have my player model, and he is just moving around and all kinds of things. Now, you can also see the first person arms. That shouldn't be a thing. Also, you'll notice how he looks kind of left when I run left. That's because the animation is garbage. And there makes no animation, so I might need to, if I can do something about that, maybe I'll rework it. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's working. I'm okay with the animations minus that left one. I'm not happy about that at all. Bad. So let's go back to clumsy, and hopefully I didn't kill my connection on that. But close out of this, and I'm just going to take a super quick look at the animation and see if maybe I forgot to set it up properly. Let's go to my models. Let's go to my Xbot. Opened it. My left. Here we go. Strafe left. That's the one we're having problems with. I did actually set it up right, so yeah. The reason it's being funny is because the pistol aim has the waist turn to the left, and you can't really tell. But whenever it's combined with the strafe left, it doesn't look right at all. I can't really do anything about that. Mixed mode animations are surprisingly not very game engine friendly. I think they would be, but they're not. They're too human-like, and they move too many bones. They might be good for like a maybe like a, I don't even know. You'd have to use a lot of IK to make them work. So just keep in mind. If I just turn it a little bit, we'll pretend. Like -45. Let's see what happens. Turn on my third person. Actually, I don't know if it's going to animate. No, it's not going to animate because I don't run the third person animator unless you're a spectator or the server, because the primary player doesn't need to move it. All right, so I don't think I'm going to, I obviously don't have health set up now, so I can't do that right now. So I can't like actually manage hits. And I need to also determine which layers to cast on. Right now, the hitboxes should be on their own layers, which I don't actually have any set up. So all I have right now is this little capsule, which is the character controller. That's basically what stops him from going through things and lets him climb, jump, and all that. I have to add hitboxes to each bone. And I only have to do it on the, well, not each bone, but the important bones. So for example, I'm going to just add one or two just to show you. And this is going to be spine hitbox. And I'm going to be pretty content with box collider, I think. That big though. Definitely not that tall. Right, definitely not that long. All right. So yeah, obviously there's parts right here where there's no body part, but you could still hit with a hitbox. That's fine. I don't care about it. If you had a different model, it'd probably be okay. So I'm going to do spine 1 hitbox. I'm going to reset the offset. And yeah, that's basically all I'm going to do. Is I'm just going to make some hitboxes, drop them on in there, and after I do that, I can work on the layers and stuff. And once I do that, I can actually set up the hits and make them work. It's okay too if your hitboxes overlap. So for example, I have one below and one there. If it overlaps, it's not a big deal. I'll set it up so it only registers on one hitbox. Okay, well, I am going to go ahead and call it here. If you have any questions, my Discord link is in the community post section of my YouTube channel, and feel free to mention me or whatever on my channel. Thank you for watching.